Friday. I'm looking at the wrong camera. You can see it's Friday. Let's turn our attention to Kazakhstan. The Central Asian country of Kazakhstan recently launched the first international atomic energy agency, Low Enriched Uranium, or LEU Bank, which is amongst some of the ways the agency is seeking to store and supply uranium safely. Desiree Chauke covered the launch with cameraman Thabiso Paatjie, but while they were there, they also attended the World Expo, an international innovation event where Kazakhstan got the chance to show off a new state-of-the-art conferencing facility. Let's take a look.
The discussion about nuclear power, its uses, benefits and dangers is a continuing conversation, even in South Africa. And the Kazakh energy minister wanted to address this.
Low enriched uranium. So low enriched uranium, we can't use it for the weapons, for example. It's just we can use it for making fuel for atomic station, nuclear station.
The International Atomic Energy Agency will use the LEU Bank as an assurance of supply mechanism of last resort and will be a physical reserve of product available for eligible IAEA member states.
This is a very complex project which has involved the negotiation of a number of agreements, and we had a very good working relation with between Kazakhstan and IAEA. And that said, the personal engagement of President Nazarbayev from the beginning has contributed greatly to implement the project.
We took a tour of the bank, although there were restrictions in terms of what we could film.
Several countries are engaging with the IAEA for permission to produce low uranium products, and Kazakhstan has been one of the first lucky ones with permission to open up this operation here called the Low Enriched Uranium Bank, and this is what they produce. This ordinary looking white steel band contains 1.5 tons of uranium in it, but the standard has got to be low enriched. It cannot be enriched uranium.
The launch was hosted by Kazakh President Nursultan Nazarbayev and the IAEA. We also touched base with the South African ambassador there.
Kazakhstan, because it was part of the Soviet Union, there were South Africans here during the liberation struggle. So we have a long history with them. They know people from the past who were in the liberation movements. And so really all we've done is build on those old relationships and make something more concrete.
Another big event that was taking place at the same time in Kazakhstan was the World Expo, a global event where different countries showcase different innovations in technology and energy, and the country used the opportunity to showcase their brand new state-of-the-art exhibition center in the capital Astana. For Morning Live, I'm Desiree Chauke.
It's a very fascinating trip that Desiree took. But let's take this conversation a little bit further. We're joined in studio now by the ambassador of Kazakhstan to South Africa, His Excellency Ambassador Talgat Kaliyev. Lovely to have you, Ambassador. Thank you very much for being with us.
Good morning. It's an honor for me.
Thank you.
To be here.
Lovely. Thank you very, very much. So we see in Kazakhstan, let's start off with nuclear, because obviously this was quite an interesting trip that our producer took there. Kazakhstan no longer has nuclear as energy.
During the Soviet Union times, Kazakhstan was a place where the largest nuclear test area was located, where the Soviet nuclear shield was produced, so-called. So more than 800 nuclear tests were conducted in Kazakhstan, both on the surface, in the air, under the surface. Of course, it's caused a lot of damage to the environment, to the health of the people, and that is why the first decree of my president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, when Kazakhstan got independence, it was a decree to close the nuclear test area.
Yeah, and it's been better for the country. So, I mean, obviously, from Kazakhstan's perspective, nuclear is not the way to go.
Of course. So, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Kazakhstan all of a sudden became the order of the fourth in the world in terms of numbers, nuclear arsenal. More than Chinese, more than United Kingdom, more than France. And we voluntarily withdraw all these nuclear weapons. It was nuclear missiles, it was nuclear heads, and so on.
Yeah, and I mean, just getting back to the issue of nuclear, I mean, that's why when you talk about, and we hear news reports of what's happening in North Korea and the threats that North Korea poses to the world, this is a real damage and a major threat to the world, isn't it?
Absolutely. So this is a cornerstone of our foreign policy. So we, as a country who suffered a lot from this, we do know what is it nuclear weapons is. And I was a call to the world community, to the leaders of the countries, stop this madness. So we are just, if you can imagine, this is the clock. We just 5 minutes before the 12th doomsday. Yeah. In terms of how many nuclear arms are accumulated in the world, how many countries are looking for having nuclear technology, and so on.
Yeah, and South Africa being one of them. You know, that's something that we are looking at. Obviously, it's a little bit on hold, but there's a great push for South Africa to move to nuclear, which, what I'm gathering from you, is not the right way to go.
When we're talking about nuclear technologies, of course, we do not deny any use of the nuclear energy for the peaceful civilian purposes. But there is this thin red line between civilian peaceful use of the energy and transfer it to the arm. Yeah. You see, this is a line, so we also trying to attract the attention of the world community, saying, please stop over here. Do not cross it.
Don't cross that line. I don't want to only talk about nuclear, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Kazakhstan and relations between South Africa and Kazakhstan. How have relations been over the years? When did we start good relations between the two countries?
In one word, it will be excellent.
Yeah.
South Africa was among the first countries who recognized our independence in the beginning of the 90s, and vice versa. We welcomed the events which happened here in this country in 1994, and we immediately established diplomatic relations. The importance of South Africa, it's for Kazakhstan, I can describe it as, because first ever diplomatic missions in this part of the world, in south of Africa, was opened in Pretoria.
Wonderful. I mean, it's long-standing relations. And
absolutely.
Is there great trade between Kazakhstan and South Africa?
Again, in one word, I wish to be better.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So the main questions when the businessman from South Africa and from Kazakhstan asks me is how to get there. So unfortunately, the distance. Logistics is incredible. Yeah. So we are too far away from each other.
Indeed.
So we are working on it. So it's of course it's mostly through the sea communications. We were working on that with both, with the government and the business on both sides.
Yeah. But if people want to visit Kazakhstan,
absolutely.
As a South African, do you need a visa to enter into Kazakhstan?
Yes.
So for South Africans, you need a visa, and vice versa as well.
Yes.
What do you offer in Kazakhstan? I mean, if I had to go there for a holiday, what am I going to do there?
It's absolutely different environment. If you like snow skiing, you are most welcome to Kazakhstan. It is becoming more and more popular destinations, tourist destination.
Yes.
If you're looking to run away from the urban life,
that's the place to go.
You may come to Kazakhstan to have this very quiet life somewhere in mountains.
Yes. Sounds wonderful. It really does. So there's also the massive expo center that's been opened up in Astana, and I can imagine this has been a great boost for the country.
Absolutely.
And particularly with socio-political situation in the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was a great success for my country, first ever. So we have such a big international event. So more than 100 countries in one place. I mean, the exhibition expo under the slogan "The Future Energy." We were talking about the world after the oil and gas.
Yes.
So what kind of energy the humanity can use, and a lot of countries and companies, they demonstrated the latest achievement of that in this sphere.
Thank you for visiting us here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Wonderful having you. His Excellency, the Ambassador from Kazakhstan to South Africa, Talgat Kaliyev, talking to us about Kazakhstan, the relations between the two countries. If you want to visit Kazakhstan, what you can do there, and of course, nuclear energy and the launch of the Low Enriched Uranium Bank, as well as hosting the World Expo. So lots happening in Kazakhstan. Let's take a break. We've got some music for you after this. Do stay tuned. We'll see what Pelés has got for us.